I'm not driving your brat anywhere. He'll mess up my whole interior. Get out! My mother-in-law screamed and shoved me with my sick child out of the car right on the interstate. My husband silently turned away, saying nothing, and that evening when they came home, they froze in horror at what they saw. But before we begin, please like and subscribe. Thank you and enjoy. Marina woke up at 6:30 a.m. to the sound of a dripping faucet in the kitchen. Outside the window of the two-bedroom apartment in downtown Portland, dawn was barely breaking. She stretched and felt the empty space beside her. Ryan had already left for the factory. He worked as a machinist on rotating shifts, and today was an early one. From the kids' room came rustling and quiet murmuring. Daniel, her 6-year-old son, had already woken up and was building something with his Lego set. The boy had inherited her love of STEM subjects and could spend hours assembling complex models of robots or spaceships. Marina got up, threw on a robe, and went to the kitchen. The apartment had been left to her by her grandmother, Elizabeth, 3 years ago. The old woman had worked all her life as a math teacher at a community college and had managed to buy property in the heart of the city. Back then, receiving the inheritance, Marina had felt secure. She and Daniel finally had a real home. She started the coffee maker and opened the refrigerator. On the shelf was a note from Ryan. Babe, took the breakfast sausages. Working late tonight. Mom needs help moving furniture. Love, R. Marina frowned. Nancy, her mother-in-law, had been demanding more and more of her son's time lately. First she needed furniture moved, then plumbing fixed, then help at her rental property. Ryan never said no to his mother, even when he and Marina had weekend plans. "Mom, where's Dad?" asked Daniel, appearing in the kitchen with messy hair, clutching a robot he'd built. "At work, honey. Want some eggs?" "Yes. Can I show my robot how you cook?" Marina smiled. Daniel loved creating stories about his robots and talking to them like real friends. After the divorce from his biological father, the boy had taken time adjusting to the new man in the house, but Ryan had shown patience and gradually became a father figure to the child. While her son ate breakfast, Marina got ready for work. Teaching English at Portland Academy, a private school, brought in good money, especially compared to public schools. The principal valued her professionalism and ability to connect with difficult teenagers. The school day passed normally. Marina taught 6 classes, graded tests, and stayed until 7 p.m. for parent-teacher conferences. When she finally got home, the lights were on, but it was quiet. "Danny, I'm home," she called, kicking off her shoes in the entryway. "Mom, we're in here," her son called from the living room. Marina walked in and saw Daniel sitting on the carpet watching TV, and next to him sat Nancy. Her mother-in-law wore her usual brown pantsuit, her hair in the same style she'd kept for 15 years. "Hello, Marina," Nancy said coldly, not looking up from the screen. "Hi. Where's Ryan?" "Showering. We moved furniture all day. My boy is exhausted." Marina felt irritation at "my boy," but stayed quiet. Nancy often talked about her 30-year-old son like he was 12. "Mom, Grandma Nancy says her phone broke," Daniel reported, eyes still on the cartoon. "Yes, can you believe it?" Nancy sighed. "Completely stopped working. Won't even turn on. And I need it for work, the digital register at the store. Everything runs through the app." Marina nodded and went to the kitchen to heat up dinner. A few minutes later, Ryan appeared, fresh from the shower in sweatpants and a t-shirt. "Hey, babe." He kissed her cheek. "How was school?" "Fine. Just tired. How'd the furniture moving go?" "All good. Mom wanted the dresser in the other corner. We worked on it all morning." They had dinner together. Nancy refused food, claiming she was on a diet. After dinner, Nancy went home, and Ryan helped Daniel build a new airplane model. The next day, Marina decided to wash her husband's jacket. It had stains from yesterday's work. Checking the pockets before washing, she felt something crinkle, a folded receipt from Best Buy. A phone, latest iPhone model, costing $1,200. Date of purchase yesterday. Marina felt cold inside. $1,200. That was all their vacation savings for Daniel. They'd been planning a trip to Disneyland. Her son had been dreaming about it for 6 months. That evening, after Daniel went to bed, Marina showed the receipt to Ryan. "Where did this come from?" Ryan's face reddened. "I was going to tell you. Mom really needed a phone for work. Her old one died completely. She couldn't even clock out. For $1,200, Ryan? You could have gotten a decent phone for $300. Well, she wanted that specific one. Says cheap ones break fast, and this'll last 5 years easy." This is money for Daniel's vacation. "I know, babe, but Mom does so much for us. Watches Danny when we're running late, cooks on weekends. She deserved a nice gift." Marina stared at her husband, realizing arguing was pointless. Ryan always justified his mother's actions. Nancy did occasionally help with Daniel, though she made it seem like she was doing them a huge favor. "Next year we'll definitely go to Disneyland," Ryan promised. "I'll pick up over time." A week later, Marina met her friend Jessica at a coffee shop near school. They'd been friends since college, and Jessica was one of the few people Marina trusted. "You look weird," Jessica noted, stirring her latte. "What's going on?" Marina told her about the phone and the canceled vacation. Jessica listened carefully, then frowned. "Listen, do you know what your mother-in-law says about you?" "What do you mean?" "My neighbor works at the same Safeway. She says Nancy complains to everyone that you're a gold digger. Supposedly you got pregnant by another guy to trap child support, then snagged her son." Marina felt her face flush. "She really says that?" "Oh yeah, and she tells people you manipulated him with the apartment, that he only married you for the housing, and now you're using him." "Daniel is Ryan's son." "I know, but she tells everyone he's not, and that you're greedy and won't give him money to help his mother." Marina sat gripping her cup. So Nancy didn't just dislike her. She was actively turning people against her, systematically and deliberately. "Did you tell Ryan?" "I tried. He won't listen. Says his mom just worries about him, so she's sometimes blunt." At home, Marina tried to talk to Ryan about it. He didn't believe it at first, then got angry. "Your friend's exaggerating. Mom can be direct, but she's not mean. Ryan, she's telling strangers that Daniel isn't your son." "So what?" "Biologically, he's not, but I love him like my own." "You don't get it. She's poisoning people against me." "Enough already," Ryan raised his voice. "You're always creating drama. Mom's old and alone. She only has me. You want me to abandon her." The conversation went nowhere. Ryan went to the balcony to vape, and Marina went to bed feeling utterly alone. The next few weeks were tense. Ryan stayed at his mother's more often, and when he came home, he was silent and irritable. Marina focused on work and her son, trying not to think about family problems. One Saturday morning, Ryan announced he was going to his mother's. Again. Marina couldn't help it. "We were supposed to take Danny to the park." "Mom has something important. She's looking at cars." "What car?" "She decided to buy one. Tired of taking the bus." Marina felt uneasy. With what money? She makes minimum wage as a cashier. She's financing it. "I'll help with the down payment." "What money will you use?" Ryan hesitated. "I've got some saved." "Ryan, we don't have spare money. We just bought that phone." "I'll find it. I'll work overtime." On Monday, Marina learned the truth by accident. Daniel got sick, and she went to the urgent care for a note. In line ahead of her stood a woman, loudly talking on her phone about loans and cars. "Can you imagine? My neighbor bought a car," she was saying. "Financed it at the dealership, and her son co-signed. Says if anything happens, he'll make the payments. Marina's heart sank. Had Ryan co-signed for his mother's car loan without telling her? That evening, she confronted him. Ryan tried to dodge the question, but finally admitted it. Yeah, I co-signed. What's the big deal? Mom's responsible. She'll make the payments. You realize if she doesn't pay, we're liable for the debt. She'll pay. She's been responsible her whole life. Ryan, this is serious. You should have talked to me first. Here we go again, he exploded. Mom raised me alone after Dad left. She deserves help. At our expense. At our expense. Who else should help their parents? Marina realized she was trapped. Ryan made decisions unilaterally. Nancy got whatever she wanted, regardless of their budget. A week later, a red Honda appeared in their parking lot. Nancy had bought a used car, 5 years old, but in good condition. A $15,000 loan. Monthly payment, $400. Nice car, Marina admitted when Nancy came to show it off. Of course, Nancy answered proudly. I've dreamed of my own car my whole life. Now I won't have to ride the bus with homeless people. Daniel looked at the car with interest, but when he asked to sit in the driver's seat, his grandmother sharply refused. Kids have no business in my car. He'll break something or make a mess. That evening, Marina calculated their expenses. $400 for the loan plus insurance, gas and maintenance. Almost half of Ryan's paycheck. Their own plans for renovations and vacation were indefinitely postponed. A month later, problems started with Daniel. First, the boy complained of stomach pain after breakfast. Marina thought he just didn't want to go to school and didn't worry much. But by evening, he felt worse. His temperature rose, the pain intensified. At night, Daniel barely slept, tossing and crying. In the morning, Marina called their pediatrician. Dr. Sarah Chen, an experienced physician, did a video visit and examined Daniel's symptoms carefully. It sounds like acute appendicitis, she said seriously. You need to get him to the ER immediately. Do you have a car? No, Marina answered. Call 911 or find someone to drive you. Portland Children's Hospital, Emergency Department. Don't delay. Marina hung up and returned to her son. Daniel lay pale, eyes closed, breathing heavily. Mommy, it hurts, he whispered. I know, baby. We're going to the hospital and the doctors will help you. She called Ryan at work. His supervisor said he'd pass the message, but Ryan was on shift until evening. An ambulance could take hours and cost a fortune. The hospital was 20 miles away. Taking an Uber with a sick child seemed risky. There was only one option, Nancy with her new car. Marina dialed her mother-in-law's number, mentally preparing for an unpleasant conversation. Hello, Nancy, it's Marina. We have an emergency. She explained the situation. Long silence on the other end. What do you want from me? Nancy finally asked. Drive us to the hospital. Daniel is really sick. Why don't you call an ambulance? The doctor said not to wait. We need to go now. Another pause. Fine, Nancy agreed, reluctantly. I'll be there in half an hour, but keep everything clean in my car. I don't need him messing up my interior. Marina felt hurt, but said nothing. Right now, getting to the doctor's was all that mattered. She quickly packed a bag with Daniel's insurance card and clothes, dressed him warmly. The boy could barely stand leaning on her. Exactly 30 minutes later, the red Honda appeared. Nancy got out with a sour expression. Where's the patient? Marina led Daniel outside. Nancy looked him over critically. Doesn't look that sick. Probably ate too much candy. The doctor suspects appendicitis. Doctors nowadays send you to the ER for anything. But she let them in. Marina got Daniel in the back seat and sat beside him. Nancy started the engine and pulled out. Don't touch anything, she warned, checking the rearview mirror. This car is brand new. Leather seats. Marina nodded, holding Daniel close. The boy was burning with fever, breathing irregularly. She wanted to get to the hospital as fast as possible. Nancy drove through Portland slowly. She stopped at every yellow light, let pedestrians cross when she didn't have to, and kept glancing at Daniel in the mirror. "Don't breathe on the windows," she snapped. "Just had them detailed." Marina clenched her jaw. Every minute mattered for her son's health. And Nancy worried about clean windows. "Can you go a little faster?" she asked. "I'm not some reckless driver. This car costs money. I drive carefully." Daniel moaned and pressed closer to his mother. His face was ashen, dark circles under his eyes. They got on I-5 heading toward the hospital. Marina watched the signs, 12 miles to go. Nancy drove no faster than 55, though the speed limit was 65. Suddenly, the car slowed and turned off onto a rural road. "Where are we going?" Marina asked anxiously. "To Tamara's. She was an ER nurse, knows all about medical stuff. We'll check with her first." "Nancy, we need to go to the hospital. The doctor said it's urgent." The doctor said, "They rush everyone to surgery for any little thing nowadays. But Tamara has 40 years of experience. She'll know better." Marina couldn't believe her ears. Instead of taking her sick child to the ER, Nancy decided to stop at her friends for advice. "We're wasting time." "We're not wasting anything. Half an hour, and we'll know for sure what's wrong with the boy." The Honda bumped along the dirt road. Daniel felt nauseous from the jostling. He went even paler. "I feel sick," the boy whispered. "Hang on, honey, we'll be there soon." 10 minutes later, they stopped at a house with a wraparound porch. Nancy got out and headed to the door. "You wait here. I'll be quick." Marina stayed with Daniel in the car. He lay on her lap, breathing hard. His fever had clearly gotten worse. Through the window, she watched Nancy talking with a heavy-set woman in scrubs. Tamara was explaining something, gesturing, pointing at the car. 30 minutes passed. Marina was ready to get out and demand they leave immediately when Nancy finally returned. "What did Tamara say?" Marina asked, hoping for something reasonable. "She says it's probably just an upset stomach. Give him Pepto and go home." "Go home? He might have appendicitis." "Tamara knows better. She says with appendicitis the fever's over 103, and what's his?" 101.5. "See? Not appendicitis." Nancy started the car and headed back to the main road. But instead of turning toward the hospital, she drove toward the city. "Where are we going?" "Home. Why go to the hospital if it's not appendicitis?" "Stop!" Marina almost screamed. "Turn around. We're going to the ER." "Don't yell in my car," Nancy snapped. "You're stressing me out." "Nancy, if something happens to Daniel." "Nothing will happen. Give him medicine at home. Some tea and he'll be fine." Marina realized arguing was useless. Nancy clearly wasn't taking them to the hospital. She pulled out her phone and called 911. 911, what's your emergency?" "I need an ambulance. My son has suspected appendicitis." "What's your location?" Marina gave their home address where they were heading. "We're dispatching now. Expect arrival within 45 minutes. Nancy heard the call and frowned. "Why'd you call 911? I said, we'll treat him at home." "Because you're refusing to take a sick child to the ER. "I'm not refusing. I'm protecting him from unnecessary procedures. ERs just want your insurance money." They reached home in 20 minutes. Daniel could barely walk. Marina caught him under the arms and helped him to the door. "Thanks for the ride," she told Nancy. "Uh-huh. Next time take an Uber instead of bothering people over nothing." Nancy drove off, and Marina carried Daniel to the apartment and laid him on the couch. The boy was very weak, crying from pain. The ambulance arrived an hour later. The paramedic, a young man with a tired face, quickly examined Daniel. "Why did you wait so long?" he asked sternly. "This child has classic signs of acute appendicitis. Should have come in immediately." "We tried," Marina began, but he cut her off. Let's go. We're taking him to surgery now. Daniel was loaded on a gurney into the ambulance. On the way to Portland Children's Hospital, Marina held her son's hand while the paramedics started N4 with pain medication. In the ER, they were met by the triage nurse and taken to see the surgeon. Dr. Ramirez, a man in his 50s with kind eyes, examined Daniel and immediately ordered surgery. Acute appendicitis. Another hour or two, and we'd be looking at a ruptured appendix and peritonitis. You got here just in time. Daniel was wheeled to while Marina waited in the corridor. The surgery took 2 hours. The whole time she paced, unable to sit still. Finally, Dr. Ramirez appeared. Everything went well. We removed the appendix. No complications. He'll be fine. Marina nearly cried with relief. Can I see him? He's still coming out of anesthesia. In about 3 hours. He'll be in recovery overnight for monitoring. Then we'll move him to a regular room. While Daniel was in recovery, Marina sat in the hospital cafeteria with coffee. Her hands shook from stress. It had been so close. The consequences could have been terrible. And it was all because of Nancy's stubbornness, deciding she knew better than the doctors. That evening, Ryan arrived, pale and worried. How's Danny? He asked, hugging his wife. Surgery went fine. Doctors say he can go home in a week. Thank God. Mom said you went to Tamara's and she said it wasn't serious. Marina stared at her husband in disbelief. Ryan, your mother nearly caused a disaster. She refused to take us to the hospital, wasted time on a trip to her friend. She meant well. Didn't want Danny to suffer unnecessarily. Meant well. The doctor said another hour and his appendix would have burst. Ryan was quiet, then said uncertainly, Mom was worried. Older people sometimes make bad calls. Marina realized her husband would defend his mother again. Even now, when it was about their son's life and health, he couldn't admit Nancy had been recklessly irresponsible. The next day, Daniel woke up. He was weak, but the doctors said he was recovering well. Marina barely left his bedside. That afternoon, a nurse came in. You have visitors. Ryan and Nancy appeared in the doorway. Nancy wore her best pantsuit and carried a bag of fruit. How's our patient? She asked, as if nothing had happened. Daniel saw his grandmother and turned to the wall. Danny, don't be rude, Ryan said gently. Grandma Nancy brought fruit. Don't want fruit, the boy whispered. Nancy set the bag on the table and sat down. This is what junk food does, she said to Marina. Kids eat nothing but processed garbage nowadays. That's why they get sick. Marina stared at her mother-in-law, silently. Did this woman not understand what she'd done? Tamara says you need a strict diet after appendix surgery, Nancy continued. I told her everything. She made a list of foods. Thanks, but we'll follow the doctor's orders, Marina said coldly. Doctors just push pills these days. Natural remedies are proven for centuries. Ryan sat quietly, occasionally patting Daniel's head. The boy didn't respond, stayed turned away. We won't stay long, Ryan finally said. Danny, get better soon, buddy. You'll be home before you know it. After they left, Daniel turned to his mother. Mom, why didn't Grandma Nancy want to take me to the doctor? Marina didn't know what to say. How do you explain to a 6-year-old that his grandmother is selfish and cruel? She was scared, probably. Was Dad scared too? Yes, honey. Were you scared? No. I knew the doctors would help you. Daniel was quiet, then said softly, I want it to be just you and me, without Grandma Nancy and Dad. Marina's heart ached. The child intuitively sensed what was happening in the family. On the 3rd day, Daniel was moved to a regular room. Marina stayed with him constantly, sleeping on a cot. Ryan visited after work, but didn't stay long. Nancy didn't come back. Saturday evening, while Daniel slept, Marina went to the hallway for air. Near the window, 2 women were talking, and one looked familiar. Looking closer, Marina realized it was Tamara, Nancy's friend they'd visited instead of the hospital. She planned the whole thing. Tamara was saying into her phone. Nancy had been scheming for a month about how to get rid of her daughter-in-law. Said the kid getting sick was perfect to show what a bad mother she is. Marina froze. So yesterday's detour had been planned. Nancy had deliberately decided not to take Daniel to the hospital, thinking Ryan would blame Marina. Like, your kid almost died because of you, Tamara continued. But turns out she called 911. Nancy's pissed now. The plan failed. Marina had heard enough. She quietly returned to the room and sat by her sleeping son. So it had all been premeditated. Nancy had deliberately wasted time, driven them to her friend, refused to go to the hospital. She'd hoped Daniel's condition would worsen so she could blame Marina for poor parenting. Nancy was willing to risk her grandson's health to destroy their marriage. And Ryan, he probably knew about his mother's plan. How else to explain his indifference? Marina looked at her sleeping son. Daniel looked so fragile with the bandage on his stomach. The doctors said the surgery was done in time, but a few more hours and the consequences would have been irreversible. In that moment, she made a decision, final and absolute. She and Daniel would live alone, without Ryan and his mother, without people willing to risk a child's health for selfish purposes. The apartment was hers. The money in the bank was hers. She had a good job, decent income. She could provide everything Daniel needed. Ryan could live with his mother and pay off her car loan. Let him listen to her complaints and do her bidding, just not around them. Marina pulled out her phone and texted her friend Jessica. Need your help. Urgent. The reply came in a minute. What's wrong? Getting divorced. Kicking out my husband. We'll explain tomorrow. Okay, what do you need? A good lawyer and a locksmith to change the locks. Done. Stay strong. Marina put away her phone and looked at her son again. Daniel was smiling slightly in his sleep, probably dreaming something nice. She had to make sure nice became reality for both of them. Tomorrow she'd start a new life. Without betrayal, without humiliation, without people ready to harm her child for their own interests. Marina took Daniel's hand and squeezed it tight. The boy didn't wake, but pressed closer to her palm. But first, she had to get through the worst day of her life. At the hospital exit, Ryan and Nancy were waiting for them. Marina was surprised. She hadn't told them about the discharge. Thought we'd pick you up, Ryan explained, hugging his wife and son. How'd you know we were being discharged? I called the nurses' station, Nancy answered. Wanted to check on my grandson. Daniel was still weak from surgery, moving slowly. The doctors recommended bed rest at home and a follow-up in a week at their pediatrician. I brought my car, Nancy announced. I'll drive you. Thanks, Marina said, getting Daniel into the back seat. Daniel was pale, complaining of weakness. The drive home took half an hour. Nancy drove carefully, avoiding potholes and bumps. How are you feeling? She asked, glancing at her grandson in the mirror. Okay, the boy answered quietly. Suddenly Daniel started feeling nauseous. At first he just went pale and pressed against his mother. Then he threw up right in the car. From weakness and the hospital medications. Marina tried to use a bag, but it was too late. Vomit got on the leather seat and floor. Nancy slammed on the brakes on the interstate shoulder. What the hell? She screamed, turning around. I told you he wasn't feeling well, Marina said, wiping Daniel's mouth with tissues. This is normal after surgery. Normal. Nancy shrieked. He messed up my whole interior. She jumped out and yanked open the back door. I'm not driving your brat anywhere. He'll mess up my whole interior. Get out. Nancy screamed and grabbed Marina's arm, trying to pull her from the car. Mom, stop, Ryan said, but quietly without conviction. I won't stop. This car is brand new leather seats. I didn't take out a loan, so this, she jabbed her finger at Daniel, could mess it all up. Nancy forcefully pulled Marina by the sleeve. Marina, supporting her sick son, couldn't resist. Get out. Nancy yelled. You can walk home, Ryan. Marina called to her husband. Ryan sat in the front seat, head down. He silently turned toward the window, saying nothing. Nancy shoved Marina with her sick child out of the car right onto the interstate shoulder. Daniel could barely stand, leaning on his mother. "Mom, I'm cold," he whispered. Marina took off her jacket and wrapped her son in it. They stood on the shoulder of I-5 as the red Honda roared away. 10 minutes later, they were picked up by an ambulance heading to a call in a nearby town. The paramedic, seeing a woman with a sick child on the roadside, stopped. "What happened?" "We were coming from the hospital. My son got sick in the car. They left us here." "Left a post-op kid on the interstate?" The medic looked shocked. "Get in. We'll take you home." On the way, Marina made her final decision. No one would ever do this to her son again. Tomorrow she'd file for divorce and evict Ryan from the apartment. No one would be in their lives who was ready to harm Daniel for their own selfishness. "Everything will be okay soon," she whispered to her son. "Mom promises." The next morning, after getting home from the hospital, Marina woke with clarity and determination. Daniel was sleeping in his room, recovering. Ryan had left for work before dawn, not even trying to explain yesterday. Marina took out her phone and called Marcus Johnson, a former college classmate. They'd studied together in the English department, but he'd switched to pre-law after sophomore year. Now Marcus worked at a prestigious law firm, specializing in family law. "Marina, what a surprise. How are you?" "Not great, Marcus. I need your help. Getting divorced." "Seriously? I thought things were good with you guys. Let's meet and talk." "Can we do today? This is urgent." "Of course. Come to my office in 2 hours." Marina left Daniel with their neighbor Mrs. Chin, an elderly woman who often helped with childcare. The boy was still weak, mostly sleeping, but the doctors said recovery was progressing normally. The law office was downtown in a modern glass building. Marcus met her in a spacious office overlooking the Willamette River. "Tell me what happened," he said, gesturing to a leather chair. Marina detailed everything from the phone purchase and car loan to yesterday's incident on the interstate. Marcus listened carefully, occasionally asking clarifying questions. "I see," he finally said. "Let's break this down. The apartment, who owns it?" "Me. I inherited it from my grandmother 3 years ago." "Perfect. So housing won't be an issue. Ryan only has residence rights as a spouse, but those terminate with divorce. How quickly can I evict him?" "With grounds like this, pretty fast. Abandoning a post-op child on the interstate, that's serious." Marcus pulled out his laptop and started typing. "Now the car loan. Did you co-sign?" "No. Ryan did it all himself." "Then the bank can't come after you. But let's check the paperwork. If Ryan listed you as a co-borrower without your consent, that's fraud. Can we do anything about this loan?" "Yes. If we prove you didn't consent to co-sign, the bank will reevaluate the loan terms, and without a co-signer, Ryan probably can't afford the payments." Marina felt a plan forming inside her. Not cruel or vindictive, but fair and legal. "What do I need to do?" "First, gather documents, hospital records about Daniel's condition, your property deed, all car loan paperwork. Then we file for divorce and eviction. How long will it take?" "With grounds this strong, maybe 6 weeks. But we can expedite with evidence of endangerment." Marcus looked at her carefully. "Marina, are you sure? Divorce is a big step." "Absolutely sure. After what they did to Daniel, I can't trust them anymore." "Okay, then let's get started." They agreed to meet the next day with all documents. Marina went home feeling relieved. Finally, she was taking action. Daniel woke up and asked for food. Marina made him soup as the doctors recommended. The boy was still weak, but getting his appetite back. "Mom, when's Dad coming home?" "I don't know, honey. He works a lot." Is Grandma Nancy going to visit? Why do you ask? I don't want her to come. She's mean. Marina stroked her son's hair. Kids always sense dishonesty and cruelty better than adults. Ryan came home late, looking grim and exhausted, barely said hello. At dinner, he sat silently, avoiding eye contact. How's Danny feeling? He finally asked. Better. Doctor said recovery looks good. That's good. Marina waited for an apology or explanation about yesterday, but Ryan stayed silent as if nothing had happened. Ryan, we need to talk. About what? About what happened yesterday. He looked up with irritation. Mom apologized. Said she panicked about the car. She apologized to me? Well, she told me. Asked me to tell you. And what do you think about all this? Ryan got up and started clearing dishes. I think we shouldn't blow things out of proportion. The car really is brand new. Mom was stressed. Ryan, she threw a post-op child out on the interstate. She didn't throw you out. She just asked you to get out. Town wasn't far. 10 miles on the interstate with a child after surgery. So, it happened. At least Danny's okay now. Marina realized the conversation was pointless. Ryan saw nothing wrong with his mother's behavior, or didn't want to. I'm filing for divorce, she said calmly. Ryan froze with plates in his hands. What? You heard me. Because of yesterday. Marina, are you crazy? I'm completely sane. I don't want to live with someone who won't protect his family. I do protect. I just don't see the point of fighting with Mom over nothing. Nothing? Ryan, your mother could have killed Daniel. Could have, but didn't. Everything turned out fine. No, it didn't. For me, this is just beginning. Ryan set the dishes down and turned to his wife. Marina, let's not rush into anything. Think about this. I already have. What about the apartment? The loans? I co-signed for Mom's car. Those are your problems. You have no claim to this apartment. Ryan went pale. You're kicking me out? Exactly. Where am I supposed to go? Not my problem. You can move in with your mom. They argued for hours, but Marina wouldn't budge. Ryan tried pleading, threatening, promising to change, but she listened distantly, already mentally planning tomorrow. The next morning, while Ryan was at work, Marina went to Marcus with all the documents. The lawyer studied everything carefully. Perfect, he said. The apartment is completely yours. No disputed claims. The loan is clear too. Your signature isn't on the cosigner agreement. So the bank can't come after me? Nope. In fact, you could file a complaint if Ryan listed you without consent. That's fraud. Would that create problems for Ryan? Oh yeah. The bank would demand immediate loan restructuring, and without a cosigner, the interest rate would spike significantly. Marcus started preparing court documents. Marina signed the divorce petition and eviction notice. Now the interesting part, the lawyer said. Do you have any information about your mother-in-law's income or lifestyle? Why? If she's taking out loans, she's declaring income. But grocery store cashiers don't make much. Maybe there's unreported income. Marina thought about it. How did Nancy afford loans? Cashiers make maybe $12 an hour, but the car payment was $400 a month. I'll talk to my friend, she said. Her neighbor works at the same Safeway. That evening, Marina called Jessica and asked her to find out more about Nancy's work situation. Jessica promised to investigate. Ryan came home late, aggressive. Are you really going through with this? He demanded. Absolutely. You're taking Danny's father away too? Daniel has a father, his biological one. And I showed I'd sacrifice a kid for my mother? I didn't sacrifice anyone. You sat there silent while your mother abandoned our sick son on the interstate. I didn't know she'd do that. You knew and said nothing. That's called being complicit. Ryan paced, chain vaping, then stopped. Fine. If you file for divorce, I'm doing something too. I'm filing for custody, for child support for Danny. Marina smirked. He's not your biological son. You can only claim child support if you legally adopted him. I'll adopt him. Too late. After divorce, the court won't allow adoption without the mother's consent. Ryan realized he'd lost. He had no rights to Daniel, to the apartment, to anything in this home. He cursed and stormed to his room. The next day, Jessica called back with interesting news. "Listen, your mother-in-law is a real piece of work," she reported. "My neighbor told me some stuff." "Like what?" "She's been stealing from the store for years, taking groceries home, skimming from the register. The manager knows, but covers for her. They're old high school friends." "Seriously?" "Oh yeah. My neighbor says the whole staff knows. But they keep quiet because they're scared of getting fired." "How much does she take?" "According to my neighbor, about $200 a month. Plus groceries worth maybe $50 to $100. Nice addition to her paycheck." Marina wrote down everything. Now it made sense where Nancy got money for loans. "Jessica, is there a way to verify this?" "Yeah. Safeway has loss prevention. They do surprise audits, but someone has to tip them off." "Can it be anonymous?" "Definitely. They have a hotline." Marina wrote down the number. Now she had leverage against Nancy. But first she had to finish with Ryan. Marcus worked fast. Within a week, the court accepted the divorce filing. 3 days later, Ryan received an eviction notice. "Have you lost your mind?" he attacked Marina. "Where am I supposed to go?" "To your mom's." "She's got a studio apartment." "Not my problem." "Marina, think about this. We're a family. We're a family. Until yesterday." Ryan tried to win Daniel over. "Danny, you don't want me to leave, do you?" The boy looked at him with serious eyes. "I do. You're bad. When I was hurting, you didn't say anything to Grandma Nancy. Go live with your mom. Me and Mom will be fine alone." Ryan realized even the child was against him. He packed his things and moved in with his mother. Marina felt enormous relief. Finally, the house was peaceful. Daniel recovered quickly, played with his Legos again, laughed. But the best was yet to come. 2 weeks later, Marina called Safeway's corporate ethics hotline. "Good afternoon. I want to report theft at one of your stores." "I'm listening." "Store number 247 in Southeast Portland. Cashier Nancy Thompson has been systematically stealing groceries and skimming from registers. Manager Jim Davis covers for her." "What's this information based on?" "I shop there regularly. I've seen her bag items without scanning them, and employees have mentioned the register shortages." "Thank you. We'll investigate. I'd like to remain anonymous." "Of course. Your identity won't be disclosed." Marina hung up feeling justice was coming, and through the bank, she filed a complaint about being fraudulently listed on the loan agreement. The credit union responded quickly, demanded Ryan immediately pay down the balance or provide a new cosigner. Ryan panicked. He called Marina repeatedly, begging her to reconsider, but she refused. "These are your problems," she said calmly. "Figure it out yourself." Nancy tried taking out a new loan to pay off the old one, but banks denied her. A cashier's income couldn't support that much debt. The Safeway audit started without warning. One morning, a corporate team arrived and demanded a full inventory. Marina heard about it from Jessica, whose neighbor worked there. "You should have seen the chaos," Jessica told her. "They audited every register, the stockroom, all the paperwork. Found a shortage." "How much?" "Over $5,000 and merchandise worth another $2,000 for the last 6 months." "What happened?" "They fired everyone suspicious. Manager Davis was terminated. Nancy got fired too. They're apparently filing a police report." Marina felt satisfied. Nancy was getting what she deserved. But the most interesting part came a month later. One evening, someone rang the doorbell. Marina opened it to find Ryan and Nancy. They looked defeated and disheveled. "Can we come in?" Ryan asked. "No. Marina, we need to talk." "There's nothing to talk about. Mom got fired. They say she was stealing. And it's not true. She worked honestly." Marina looked at Nancy. Her mother-in-law stood with her head down, all her former arrogance gone. Let her prove her innocence in court. "Marina," Nancy spoke up, "can I apologize to Daniel?" "Too late. I really didn't mean for. I panicked about the car." "Did they repossess it?" Ryan nodded. "The bank wants full payment immediately. We don't have that kind of money." "Too bad. Marina, can you help?" "As the co-signer." "I'm not the co-signer. The bank confirmed that. But we were family. We were. When you abandoned my son on the interstate, that ended. And that evening, when they came home, they froze in horror at what they saw." Marina learned about it the next day from Mrs. Chin. "Can you imagine?" the neighbor told her. "They came to the building, and his stuff was sitting outside. Turns out the locks were changed. They got evicted." "How?" "Court officers came with an eviction order. Ryan didn't even fight it. Looked at the paperwork and realized it was over." "Where'd they go?" "To a motel, I heard. Looking for a room to rent. Nancy has no job, and Ryan's barely making it at the factory. Can't afford an apartment." Marina felt calm satisfaction. Justice had been served. Daniel quickly forgot about Ryan and Nancy. He was busy with his new Lego Technic set his mom bought him. The boy was building complex machines and giving them names. Marina wasn't bored either. Work kept her busy, income was stable. Without Ryan's loan obligations, life was much easier. 3 months later, she was offered a job at an elite international academy. The salary was twice what she made, plus health benefits and opportunities for professional development abroad. "Mom, are we rich?" Daniel asked when she told him about the new job. "No, honey, but we're comfortable." "Are Ryan and Grandma Nancy rich?" "No. They're having trouble right now." "It's their fault." "Yes, sweetie. Everyone is responsible for their choices." Daniel nodded and went back to his Legos. He was building an elaborate spacecraft model. Marina watched her son and thought about how grateful she was for finding the strength to change their lives. Now, Daniel was growing up in an environment of honesty and justice, without people willing to harm him. 6 months later, Marina accidentally ran into Ryan and Nancy at the urgent care. She'd brought Daniel for a post-op checkup with a surgeon to examine the healed incision. Ryan had aged dramatically. His hair was graying, face gaunt. He sat in the waiting room next to his mother, waiting for their turn with the doctor. Nancy looked worse. She leaned on a cane, breathing heavily. Apparently the stress from losing her job and the legal trouble had destroyed her health. Daniel saw them first. "Mom," he whispered, hiding behind her. "It's them." "Yes, honey. Don't worry, we're just walking by." But Ryan noticed them. He stood up, uncertain. "Marina. Danny." Marina stopped. "Hello, Ryan. How are you? How's Danny's health?" "Everything's fine. How about you?" Ryan looked down. "Mom's sick. Blood pressure, heart problems." "I'm sorry to hear that." "Marina, can I see Daniel sometimes?" Marina looked at her son. The boy gripped her hand tightly and shook his head. "I don't want to," Daniel said quietly. "You hurt him," Marina told Ryan, "but I was like a father to him." Fathers don't abandon their children. Ryan wanted to say more, but Nancy touched his sleeve. "Ryan, let's go. They're calling us." They went into the exam room, and Marina and Daniel headed to the surgeon. "Mom, do you feel bad for them?" the boy asked. "No, honey. I don't celebrate their troubles, but I don't feel sorry either. They made their choices, we made ours." "Yeah, and I think we chose right." Daniel nodded and smiled. "I like our life." Me too, sweetheart. The surgeon examined Daniel and was pleased with the results. The incision healed perfectly. No complications. Healthy, strong kid, the doctor said. Forget about the surgery. Live your life. Leaving the clinic, Marina felt light and peaceful. The terrible chapter of their lives was over. Only good things lay ahead. Daniel ran beside her, excitedly talking about a new robot he wanted to build at home. And Mom, I thought of a name for it. What? Justice. He'll protect good people from bad ones. Marina smiled. Her son was growing up with the right understanding of right and wrong. That's what mattered most. They got on the bus and headed home, to their cozy apartment where no one would hurt them anymore, where they could live peacefully, work, raise a child, and enjoy every day. And somewhere in a motel on the outskirts of Portland, Ryan and Nancy were paying for their choices. Everyone got what they deserved. Justice really had prevailed.